Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. We are together in our little respective boxes in our different towns, but united in spirit. It's like we're all here in the same place. Christy and Alonso and Matt, and we are united in our disdain for this next movie we're going to talk about, which is called Love, Wedding, Repeat, which is not nearly as good as Live, Die, Repeat, which is what Edge of Tomorrow ended up being called. And it doesn't even really try to have that structure. Not really. Anyway, Alonso, describe how terrible this is.
They have a half-assed stab at, sliding doors in here. Okay, so Sam Claflin is trying so hard to be Hugh Grant in Four Weddings and a Funeral. It hurts to watch. And I like Sam Claflin. He was great in Their Finest, and I've liked him in some other stuff, but oh boy. So at the beginning of the movie, he is finishing off a weekend that he spent visiting his sister in Rome, and also there is his sister's best friend, who's played by Olivia Munn, who is a war correspondent, and they've clearly had some chemistry, but he stutters and stammers and Hugh Grants it and doesn't get to kiss her and tell her that that he's into her. So oops, opportunity blown. 3 years later, the sister, played by Eleanor Tomlinson, is getting married, and he runs into Sam Claflin runs into Olivia Munn again and tries to sort of fix the situation, but there's all these other complications, mainly an ex of Eleanor Tomlinson who shows up all coked up and is going to try and disrupt the wedding. Also an ex of Sam Claflin's, played by Frida Pinto, and her horrible new boyfriend. And anyway, let me this way. When this movie was over, I immediately went over to the Stars app and watched Four Weddings and a Funeral again, just to get this awful movie out of my system, because it's trying to be Four Weddings and a Funeral. And if you ever wanted an object example of these movies are actually really hard to do well. It's hard to do this kind of comedy in an intelligent way and to make the characters likable and to care about what happens to them. This movie shows you how not to do it, because these people are all assholes and there's not a genuine laugh in this movie practically.
It's really hard to care about whether any of their connections happen. And then about an hour into its hour and a half running time, it does a whole reverse thing. And it's like they kind of half-assed the Groundhog Day possibility of it. They kind of dip their toe into that structure, but then they don't really play it in any kind of meaningful or thought-provoking way. Is it Judi Dench narrating it?
Is it? I thought it might.
No one is credited, but it sure as hell sounds like Judi Dench, doesn't it?
It really does sound like Judi Dench continuing her lecture from the end of Cats.
Bad choices. So yeah, there's a whole idea where there's this table of all of the random friends from England. Or America.
English speakers.
Yeah. So
the English speak, yeah, because
they're in Italy. They're in Rome, and I think it's meant to be simultaneously this kind of transporting and romantic romp, but also thought provoking about the capricious and ephemeral nature of love.
Yeah.
And if you cared about whether any of these people actually got together, you might be into it. But yeah, you're right. People who are ordinarily quite likable are all drawn so thinly, and the wacky, raunchy hijinks aren't shocking. People throwing up or passing out or falling off of things or saying the wrong thing, or the second that a giant wedding cake gets rolled out, that something awful is going to happen with the cake. Yeah. The guy who is the total bore, the guy who shows up in the kilt, who keeps talking everyone's ear off. I kind of feel like he's the character personification of the whole movie. The whole movie's kind of like that. It just keeps going and trying to get you engaged, but there's nothing to
and
it.
You just
so you don't
politely want to keep walking away. There are so many times I would have bailed on this movie if we were not reviewing it here. But for you, viewers, I endured the whole thing. There's a plot element that basically what Christy was alluding to, where the bride wants the brother to slip a Mickey to the ex-boyfriend so he'll pass out and not be a problem. But of course, the who gets the glass with the Mickey and it keeps changing, and so we get various offshoots of what happens if this person gets drugged or that person gets drugged. And the only time this movie gets even a tiny bit funny is in the finale section of it, where Sam Claflin himself gets drugged and is like falling asleep while people are telling him important things, or just being like barely conscious. Like, he is giving it this really fun physical performance. And it's like, oh, here's a slight glimmer of the not shitty movie this might have been.
Yeah. I think especially in a comedy, when you are putting extra scenes over the credits, you are running some big risks.
Oh,
right?
did you stay for the credits? I couldn't even do that.
So as they roll the credits, they're showing other comedic bits that some of them actually were funnier than anything you saw in the movie. And I think that that's, you know, I always think that that's a risky proposition, because they were that good. Put them in the damn movie.
I have some volunteers of what you could have cut.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where as I'm watching it, it's a little like, huh, you know, like there's one or two mild chuckles, and it feels like there's a lot of improv going on, and some of it sells okay, and it would be like, you know, minor asides in a funnier movie. But yeah, this movie's just like, it's kind of just there, right? Like, you don't ever, like, one of the only scenes I really liked is the second time that Claflin is getting interrupted when he's about to kiss Olivia Munn.
You mean in the beginning when they're first meeting?
I'm not going to spoil the movie. But
I see.
There's another time.
Oh, right, yeah, that is one funny bit.
Like, there's you know, a handful of amusing scenes in here, but for the most part, it's just. And you're right. Like, they're all terrible to each other. Like, they're all, they're all just assholes.
Awful.
Right.
Totally.
Like, kind of don't.
And I'm a soft touch for a romantic comedy. Like, even a bland one, like if I occasionally laugh, it's like, all right, well, that was a nice little diversion. This movie made me like actively irritated. Like, it was dropping little like fiberglass shavings down the back of my shirt.
But if you're going to have a romantic comedy, you have to have comedy, and you have to have a romance that's believable, even between the couple that's getting married. Like,
yeah, who was that guy?
Yes.
There's nothing to him. I mean, the bride, Sam Claflin's sister, like, has this edge to her, and she's kind of raunchy and profane, and maybe she's interesting, but there's just nothing to the Italian guy she's marrying whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, so I'll say one thing that I liked about it, and this is maybe the only reason I'm giving it the number I'm giving it, which is that the costumes are great. The clothes are great. Olivia Munn's dress is beautiful. I like the wedding dress. I like what Rita Pinto had to wear. I mean, you have attractive people in attractive clothes, and that in and of itself might be enough to make it a vaguely enjoyable, transporting kind of romantic comedy. But
you're saying this movie would be better as a slideshow.
Here's this pretty green floral dress that Olivia Munn's wearing with a matching wrap.
I will say structurally, like, this movie kind of presents a blueprint of how you might take the Blumhouse style of like very few locations in a movie, you know, like, you know, with something like Get Out does, or Happy Death Day, and turn it into a comedy at a wedding. Because literally, except for like that prologue and a few scenes early on, the whole thing takes place in the dining hall of the wedding reception. So, like, I'm sure everybody
the villa and the grounds.
And the prologue, I think, is just right around the corner out on the street.
Totally.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So I'm sure like everybody had three versions of the same dress to wear because the shoot lasted for however long. But yeah, it's very encapsulated. So like, if you are a low budget filmmaker, you could at least pick up some tips on how to limit your number of sets. But, you know, don't learn anything else from this movie. It is a bottle episode.
A bottle episode.
That I'd like to smash over somebody's head.
Yes, Dean Craig directed it and co-wrote it. So
yes, his directorial debut, and please stop.
But even like in these days where you're sitting around the house all day and you're just trying to find something to pass the time on Netflix, like there was so much better material out there.
Yeah, go watch Tiger Tail, go watch Crip Camp, but not this one.
Okay, well, I'm saying 3.
2.
4.5. I didn't totally hit it.
Okay, our numbers are 3.2.
Okay.
Indeed it is. So yeah, please, I beg you, don't watch it. Thank you for watching this, however, and please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on all the social media at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you should head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We are starting the Mrs. America show over on FX and Hulu, and of course continuing to get through the current seasons of HBO's Westworld and The Plot Against America. So plenty of stuff going on over there. We'll have some other fun. We're going to put together a poll soon for the classic that our subscribers get to pick every month of what we watch and review. And anyway, so check it out. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time. Bye.